Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. This is a very, very, very special episode that is, and this is going to give it away, 1 year in the making, because this is our 1 year anniversary episode. Yay! And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, Jennifer and I are in the same room, in the same city. I can actually touch her. She's right here because we're in the same city and we're hanging out and we're doing this because it's our anniversary episode. Happy anniversary, partner.
Thank you, partner. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about past episodes, what we've learned, where we want to go from here. Basically, we're going to talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about because it's our show. That's what, that is what we always do. Yeah. So we're just going to do a little bit more of that.
I can't believe we're talking. I'm like used to like looking at you
looking at the screen.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at you right there. And for those of you who don't know, Jennifer and I went to junior high and high school together. And this is literally the first time we are right next to each other since we graduated from high school.
In 1987.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
1987, to put that in perspective.
That's a really long time ago. For some of you, that was before you were born. And for those of you that it is before you were born, thank you for listening. You're awesome. And for the rest of you who were born before 1987, thank you for listening too. Thank you to all of you for listening and watching on YouTube and turning in and writing to us and doing all those great things and coming along on this journey with us, because it truly has been a journey. And Jennifer and I are so thoroughly proud, honored to be doing this and to have you all come along. This is truly a passion project for the both of us. Before we continue on with all of the rest of the craziness, I really want to go ahead and read a few blurbs. Some of our guests were so gracious enough to write to us on our anniversary, and I'm going to read some of those right now. And this is the first time we're reading these, so our reactions to these are literally in the moment. Here we go. And I may cry. Y'all know this. Okay, so this one is from Sarah Hodges.
Okay.
Who was just, all of our guests have been delightful, so this is fantastic. But she says, I had a wonderful time on your podcast. You made me feel so comfortable and cared for, and you were both really interesting and intelligent and engaging to talk with. You had great perspectives.
I might cry.
I know, you had great perspectives, asked important questions, and validated my experiences that I shared. I wish you continued success and hope more people get to experience the joy of talking to you. Thank you, Raquel and Jennifer.
Well, I didn't expect me to cry.
I know, and you're the first one to cry this time. Usually I'm the first one to cry, but thank you, Sarah, so much. That was awesome.
I loved that episode because I felt like Sarah embodies what so much of us go through. Mm-hmm. And everything she said was just spot on of what it's like to be a woman in the United States of America today. Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate how candid and open that Sarah was with us on the show.
What was her episode called? We talked about body image probably in some regard on at least 10 episodes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe more than that, I would think.
Oh, mental health, body positivity, and recovering from eating disorder with Sarah Hodges. And she told us a lot about getting the diagnosis, helping herself through the process.
And being her own advocate too.
Yeah.
Which we've talked about that on a number of episodes of being your own advocate, not just in your daily lives, but in healthcare, in education, in financial situations. I mean, so often we need to be our own advocate, and we're so used to other people stepping up for us, like for our parents or a spouse or
Yeah.
whoever, but we have to do that as well.
I love her visuals of herself on Instagram.
Yes.
Like really learning to be in her body and embody her truth and all the colors she uses and her journey with her photography and her boyfriend. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Sarah, I love watching your Instagram. It makes me feel good to be me, to watch you be you.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah, for doing what you do and letting us come along on your journey. This next one is from Beth Amadeo, who is with One Warm Coat.
Yep.
And who, as I also mentioned, is another good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna find that we like hit on our friends a lot to be on the show.
yeah, we hit up our friends, and thankfully we are surrounded by people who are very interesting and do interesting stuff, and we fully farm all of that.
Now, the funny thing about Beth's episode, before we go into it, this was the most nervous I ever saw you, Raquel.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
You were so nervous going into that episode because you wanted it to be so special for her. Mm-hmm. I remember that. And I was like, it's going to be okay. She's a person. And I hadn't even met her.
Yeah.
And she's so down to earth.
Oh, yeah.
And lovely. But you were nervous.
I was so nervous.
Yeah.
I wanted her to have a great experience. And I wanted everything to be okay for her. And I wanted people to understand how amazing she is and the amazing work that she does.
Yeah.
So that all of that was really important for me.
Yeah.
So
and it turned out really good.
It did. This is what Beth writes to us. She writes, "Happy anniversary, beautiful humans. That's us." And she goes on to say, "Talking with Raquel and Jennifer was like chatting with two dear friends by a warm fire in a cozy cabin with a mug of hot chocolate.
Aww.
Absolutely comforting and affirming. They are beautiful, intelligent souls who are striving to shine a bit more light into this world, and I fully applaud them for the work they are doing with Madness Cafe. I'm so happy I was able to participate in a small part of their mission. Love them and this podcast." Okay, and so now I'm crying.
I know. That was so sweet.
Beth, thank you for being in the world because you are an amazing human being, and thank you for being on our show, and thank you for the work that you continue to do. For people who are listening, go check out One Warm Coat. They do amazing work. Love Beth so much. This next one is from Kara Nicole Batar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was a super cool episode. I loved that one so much. And just talking to Kara, talking to somebody who was also a recovering lawyer.
Yeah.
Who got out.
Yeah, the two of you had a lot in common.
Yeah.
And then after that episode, I did her soul realignment reading. Mm-hmm. And that was an incredible experience. If anybody's thinking about doing that, I sent her an email. She sent back, sign up for a time. And my birthday popped up as one of the available dates. So I actually gave myself a birthday present and did my soul alignment on my birthday.
Cool.
So she and I had a long chat birthday morning, and she told me all of my wonderful skills and gifts. And I just felt so validated and empowered. And I would love to have her back on the show to delve into that a little bit deeper.
Yeah. And I want to do my reading with her too.
Yeah.
So I just need to, get on the ball and get it scheduled. And so Kara, hopefully you are listening. I will be getting in touch with you hopefully fairly soon.
I think it was a great experience. Mm-hmm. I really do.
Yeah, I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that sort of deep dive. Here is the message from Kara. She says, "I loved being on Madness Cafe. Raquel and Jennifer are open-minded, thoughtful, and genuine. They have a great dynamic, and I could have talked to them for hours."
I felt that way too.
Yeah, same. I felt like I was with great friends having deep and insightful conversation, even though I had just met them. It was a pleasure from start to finish, and I so appreciate all that they are doing in their podcast. Love to you both, Kara. Kara, big love to you as well. I will say to everyone who wrote us responses, I purposely did not respond at the time to say thank you because I didn't want to peek and read them. When Jennifer and I were talking about this episode in reaching out to people to ask them to comment, we wanted our reactions to them to be in the moment and genuine. all of these, I'm sure you guys can tell, like all of these are really touching us so much. Can't even tell all of you how much I appreciate the people that have come on the show, the people who listen to the show,
Yeah.
friends of ours who comment, who don't necessarily comment on the podcast, readers and all that kind of stuff. It's just awesome.
It means a lot.
It really
And
does.
I want to say one more thing about Kara, because I did the soul alignment reading with her and we talked through some of the things that were going on in my life, which was really important. But we also have kind of become like follow me friends on Instagram. And when I post the stuff about my mom and Alzheimer's, etc., she has sent me some things to try to do with my mom.
Oh,
Like she
that's lovely.
sent calming music that has kind of a meditation embedded in it that you don't really hear.
Right, like
that,
binaural beats, sort of.
Yeah. So she sent me that to play for my mom. She sent me a yoga to try, just like out of the kindness of her
That's
heart.
so sweet.
Yeah.
God,
Just
what-
out of the kindness of her heart, like watching what's going on and seeing how she could send some healing love. So thank you, Kara, for that. It has meant a lot to me.
I think that just goes to show that the people that we are drawn to, that we like to have on the show, and people that we follow in general, which is where we get a lot of ideas for our guests.
Yeah, for sure.
It just goes to show that we follow and are attracted to people who have that
Kindness.
big heart and that kindness. They attract all that to them.
Yeah.
And then they share that with others. So that
Yep.
that is all very appreciated. So our next one, this one is from Tiffany
Missouri.
Yeah. God, Tiffany, I'm sorry. I always say your name wrong. Even in my head, I say your name wrong.
Tiffany
I'm
is
sorry.
one of my big time besties. We are like soul sisters.
Tiffany's awesome.
And she was she was only like our fourth episode. And to this day, Tiffany's episode on the podcast platform has the most listens.
Yeah, it was the one about grief.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And honestly, that one really surprised me, because when you suggested that we talk to somebody who works with grief, I literally thought, oh God, we're gonna be crying and it's gonna be a downer. And literally it was not.
It was fun, wasn't it?
It was a really interesting, almost uplifting
We
episode.
laughed. We had a good time.
We did.
Talking about grief.
Yeah. And I got to meet Tiffany. So there you go.
Yep.
That's awesome. So anyway, so this is
Yay to my
Tiffany's-
besties.
Woo, woo. So this is from Tiffany. It was so much fun to do the Madness Cafe podcast that it made me want to have one of my own.
Who knew?
Wow.
Tiffany, maybe.
There you go. Although it was a difficult topic, we were discussing grief. I felt like we got the right blend of serious, heartfelt, and a little bit of lighthearted laughter. This topic is one I feel strongly about. Grief can be so isolating, and we have so many rules about it in our society.
Okay, now I'm tearing up.
Yeah. The more we talk about and normalize it, the better we will all be. Jennifer and Raquel have such great rapport, and their questions were so thoughtful. It was a wonderful experience. I'd join them for an episode anytime.
We may need to do that.
I know.
Another episode.
I know we may need to have a follow-up with you, Tiffany, so get ready. But Tiffany, thank you so much. This is beautiful. And the fact that you mentioned that the more that we talk about it and normalize it, the better it is for all of us. That's a common theme for us.
I agree.
Is that the more we talk about these topics and have these quote unquote difficult conversations and talk about topics that are taboo, the better it is for all of us. I mean, we bring all this stuff out into the light and take the shame and the sting out of it.
Yeah.
And that comes up in so many episodes about so many different things. Get rid of the shame.
And grief is such a sneaky bitch, because it's like, it's not just grief. It's grief and all these other emotions, because there's like some relief with grief. There's some joy with grief. There's some love. The only reason we're feeling the grief is because we're also feeling a tremendous amount of love. Right. This loss, or it's just a sneaky bitch. And I think that episode did touch a lot of people, because I don't think anybody is not touched by grief.
Right. And the one thing that I took away from that from that conversation was that it's not just grieving the loss of a loved one. It's grieving the loss of the possibility of a situation, or grieving the loss of a dream, or the loss of a job or the loss
Yeah.
of security in life. I mean, there are so many things that we grieve that don't involve an actual physical death.
I don't know if a lot of people know this, so this may be an announcement. I have 1 week left of my job. I'm leaving my job. A lot of people don't know that. And I am choosing to do so. And it's still been a process full of grief because I love that. And there's people and places and products and there's love there. I'm ready. And yet there's still grief.
You're leaving one situation for a different one. You're leaving something that you know and going into something that you don't quite know how, you don't have a crystal ball. You don't know what's going to happen.
To leave, I'm giving up some stuff that I love and like giving pieces of my job to other people to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's got to be hard.
It is, but it's also like I'm doing it differently than ever before. This is going to the next right person.
Yeah.
This person is going to take this and love this and make it even better.
That's
right?
awesome.
But that's hard to do because part of my ego is like, ooh, what are they doing with my thing? No,
Right.
It's not my thing anymore. It's their thing. It's way different. It's good. Grief is crazy. Okay.
Yeah, grief is very crazy.
You know, I can go on a tangent.
Oh yeah, it's totally fine. This is our last one, but this one was really cool. This was one of those ones where she has a huge, hold on, I'm building it up. I'm building it up. She has a huge following of her own.
Okay.
And
I know who it is.
Yeah. And so her episode, both on the podcast and on our YouTube channel, have been incredibly popular. So for all of the people that found us via this person, thank you for being here. I hope many of you have stayed and become listeners of our show too, because this woman's awesome. So I am referring to Shani Silver.
She has opened up a whole new world for me because I read her book first, then listened to some podcasts. I love her podcast.
Yeah, her podcast is
but
awesome.
Now, like, I'm engaging with the Facebook group daily.
Yeah. So Shani's book is called A Single Revolution. Don't Find a Match, Light One. And then Shani's podcast is called A Single Serving. And
yeah, I love the podcast.
It's awesome. And follow Shani on Patreon, become a supporter. Her Facebook group is amazing. Anyway, yeah. So, and Shani is awesome. We adore Shani.
It's good stuff. It's a whole another way of looking at being single. And you know, I remember years ago, the first thing anybody ever asked you was, well, when we were young, it was, do you have a boyfriend? And as you're older, it's, are you married? And do you have children? Like, these are the only things that matter in our life. It's always the first question. And I mean, Shani's really made me think about really kind of how awesome it is to be single, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shani.
Thank you, Shani. So anyway, so here is Shani's shout out to us for our anniversary. She says, hi, Raquel and Jennifer. Thanks for thinking of me for this. It was a joy and a pleasure to be on your podcast. And I think the coolest thing for me was seeing my podcast audience so excited to hear from both of you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
In the creative space, it can feel like the only decade that matters is your 20s. And then your 30s only matter if you're a mother. And it means a lot to me to speak to women of all ages and share those conversations so that we can erase this bullshit bias toward youth and youth only. Yes. It's one of my most requested topics. So being able to share a chat with them was so exciting. I happen to think those of us who have lived longer are more interesting. Congrats on 1 year. XOXO.
Oh,
thank you, Shani.
Yeah, one of the things that Shani talks about a lot is, like, since she started her podcast and wrote her book, that her friends, the age of her friends has changed. So she has friends with really young people all the way up.
It's amazing to have friends who are from different places than you. It's nice to have variety in your people. I actually found Shani by her podcast first.
Yeah.
Started listening to the podcast and then found her book. And then I told Jennifer about Shani.
So I read the book first because we read it for the podcast.
I literally was like, oh, maybe if I reach out to Shani, she will be on our tiny little show.
And that was really cool of you to do that for
Shani,
us.
thank you so much. I mean, I literally have that feeling every time I reach out to somebody to be on our show that we don't personally know, Because it's just like, are they going to want to be on our show? Do they don't even know who we are. But it, for me, has been an exercise in feel the fear and do it anyway.
Nice.
And she
And
said
she
yes.
said yes.
Yeah, she said yes. And
Yeah.
she's awesome.
Yeah. And it was a great conversation.
Yeah.
I remember walking away from that conversation that day. We hung up the phone or hung up the Zoom.
The Zoom, yeah.
And I immediately texted you. I was like, oh my God, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do.
I was like, I
do.
couldn't stop talking about it even after we had the conversation.
And now our world includes Shady Silver. And Shady's amazing.
Mhm.
For those of you who have not listened to Shady's podcast, please do. She's so talented in what she does.
Great writer.
She's a really great writer.
Mhm.
She is so just open in who she has on her show. And a lot of her guests are recommended from her listeners and her Facebook group.
Yeah.
So y'all, she listens to the people who are listening to her. And we want that too, right? Like we want you guys to interact with us.
Tell us who you want to talk to.
Tell us
We'll
who you
see
want
what
to
we can
talk
do.
to. Yeah. The worst they can say is no. So reach out to us.
I guess they could say something a whole lot worse, but they probably won't.
They could, but hopefully they won't. We treasure everything about this experience.
Yeah.
And the people who come up to us and say, hey, I listened to XYZ episode. It was great. And oh, it touched me in this way. And back in the beginning on our first episode, when we were visioning about it, that was one of the things we talked about, was that to have people come up to us and go, I listened to this episode and this was awesome. This is what I got from it.
In our first episode, I visioned that we would have 500,000.
Yeah.
500,000 listeners in the first year. We might be a slight bit short on that.
A little short.
We might be a little short on that, but that's okay. That's okay. Visions are for the long run, people.
Yeah, we got a few more zeros.
The vision is still there. How many listens did we have the other day?
Oh, we have had 3,000 downloads. That is huge.
That means someone listened to us talk
3,000
times.
So thanks, y'all.
Yeah,
thanks for listening to us.
3,000 times. Yeah.
3,000 times.
So Raquel,
Yes.
we've been doing this a year.
Mm-hmm.
What was the most surprising to you?
I think one of the most surprising things for me
Mhm.
has been just how much joy and pride I get out of this.
Right on.
This literally lights up my soul. This fills me up in a way that I never expected it to. Even if we don't ever get to 500,000 listeners, which is fine.
You guys, could you share us with a few more friends?
Yeah, share us with your friends, please.
We're a little short of the 1 year vision.
Yeah, we got a few more zeros to get to that.
But that being said, we are incredibly happy with the mighty group of listeners that we have.
And thanks y'all for being part of this. Anytime I talk about it, I feel like I literally just glow from the inside. Hear people talk about, oh, find something, for a career that you would do even if you didn't get paid for it.
Yeah.
We don't get paid for it.
No, we don't.
We would like to, but we do this for free.
Yeah, we do.
And this just fills my soul. And
it's fun.
It is so much fun.
Yeah.
And we have met so many amazing people and read so many amazing books.
How many books have we read?
We have read, what did we say?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that we had on the show, and one that we read for the show. Why didn't we? Tell us about that one.
That one we did not actually have on the show because the guest did not show up.
And that's happened. And that's happened a few times.
That has happened a few times. And there have been situations where maybe there were glitches or something happened. And, the person last minute was like, oh my God, this happened and my kid's sick or whatever. Oh my God, I have to cancel. And that's fine. Life happens. We get that.
Yeah. But on this one, I read a book for it.
We both did. On this one, this person didn't contact us, not by email, not
what
Instagram, nothing.
You know what I think happened? I think that Okay, there's a lesson to be learned for us here
Mhm,
too,
mhm,
because
mhm.
we didn't read the book before we booked the guest.
Yeah, we didn't know anything about this person.
Yeah,
Before we just knew the teeny little blurb that she told us.
yeah. And I don't think this person really knew about us either.
she did not.
So
I'm
my
just gonna go ahead and
guess,
say that.
my guess is what happened is that she listened to the podcast and we were not politically aligned.
That is a lovely way of putting it. That is very diplomatic.
And so she wasn't on the show, which was
Yep.
probably good because
Yeah, I think that was probably
Yeah.
best for
yeah,
all parties involved. The only thing that still just truly just chaps my ass about it is that she didn't reach out and say, you know what, I've done
she
a little more
wasn't that
research.
mature. You read her book.
Well, that's true. Literally, it just would have been much more adult and respectful and professional
So
to
it-
say, hey, I don't think this is really going to be a good fit. I'm sorry, I'm going to back out. That would have been fine.
Okay, but we read 7 books that we
Yes.
wouldn't have read, and we started with 10's book.
Yes, another friend of ours, which actually a friend of both of ours.
Right. Mhm.
She is just so amazing. And I mean, she was amazing when we
She was
knew
in
her
our
in high
vision,
school.
remember?
Yeah, she was in our
And
vision.
that became true. We
Mhm.
reached out to her and she came on and did the show.
Yep. And her book is amazing.
Yep.
She's amazing. I went to her workshop that she had here in Atlanta a couple weeks before we taped the episode. She's another example of somebody who is being her own advocate.
Mhm.
You know, she has a health situation with rheumatoid arthritis, another situation where it took forever to get the right diagnosis. And doctors were just like, oh, it's in your head.
Yeah.
Oh, little lady, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And Tin's not anybody that you would look to and go, little lady
You know,
at all. Cause
no, she's badass.
that's not her. She's total badass.
You know, that,
But it's amazing.
that, now that you say that, that has been a theme throughout our year of podcasting, advocating, and a lot in the healthcare. Because we
Mhm.
talked about that a lot with the
Mhm.
HPV
Yep.
issue. We talked about it with the ADHD issue. We talked about it when we talked with Zoe about her children and autism and herself and her husband.
Mhm.
And a lot of these issues that have health related situations, none of them would have gotten better without the person speaking up for
Mhm.
themselves.
Mhm.
None
Yeah.
of them. That has been a tremendous theme throughout our work.
Right.
this
Right.
year.
And that, you know what, that actually brings up an idea for a future show of talking about just navigating the healthcare system in
Oh
this
my God,
country.
it's a nightmare.
It is difficult for everyone.
Mhm.
No one has an easy story about navigating the healthcare system, regardless of where you are financially
Mhm.
or where in the country that you might live or what your education level is. I mean,
No.
everyone has a story about the clusterfuck that is our healthcare system.
It's really hard to get a straight answer. And what I learned through my own HPV and my hysterectomy, and then trying to get my estrogen patches, is that if you don't say what you want,
Mhm.
they're only going to recommend what the insurance company allows them to recommend. So nobody would have given me my HPV vaccine and nobody would have given me my patches. All of that was done on my own.
You had to say it not just once.
Oh yeah,
You
several times.
literally had to keep pursuing it.
So a little update on that, because I've been wanting to update everyone. I hope you don't mind. if
Oh,
I
no,
throw
go
this
ahead.
in. Throw in my HPV update. So for a woman my age, or a man, because again, I'm going to say it loud and clear, men who are sexually active should get the HPV vaccine. If you are over the age of 45,
45.
you have to have 3. And so I've had my 2. I'm still waiting on 1 more. And then next month, I will go in and I will have my test to see if HPV is still in my system. So they don't know. They
Fingers
don't know
crossed.
if it's going to work. But for people who don't have HPV and they get the vaccine, that could keep them from ever experiencing what I've experienced. I would absolutely recommend it for everyone.
Did you want to talk about your hysterectomy at all?
No,
No.
no, that was like, I felt like I had cancer for 5 minutes and that was that.
Yeah, you were very fortunate
Very
with
fortunate.
that experience.
Yeah, I guess that's it. I just wanted to let people know that still this many months out, I don't know if I have HPV anymore.
Yeah.
I might have it.
You're still,
I'm still in the process,
yeah.
but I am very, very hopeful to have a clear HPV profile, which could happen for me. And I'm excited that is a reality.
Mhm.
And so if you're out there and I know what I wanted to say. So if you're out there and you have HPV, you could ask for the vaccine because it's possible it will clear it. Raquel had mentioned earlier how another running theme has been shame. A few weeks ago, I went to a rally for Moms Demand Action.
Yeah.
I went to a rally to see if I could find someone to speak on the podcast about gun violence. And we are going to have an upcoming 2 episodes actually soon. But during that process, I met a doctor, a female doctor who works at U of M. And we were talking.
University of Michigan.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Those who don't
Sorry.
know.
University of Michigan. And we were she said, do you want to have a doctor on the podcast? And I said, oh yeah, we would love to, because we have so many women's issues we want to talk about. And I said, there's so much shame around it. And she's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, for example, I've talked a lot on the podcast about having HPV. And she's like, she was shocked. She said, ashamed? Why are you ashamed? And I said, well, I'm ashamed because it's sexually transmitted. She goes, everybody has HPV. That's what she said to me.
Wow.
She said, if you're having sex, you have come in contact with HPV. Now, you don't all have the same strain that I had that's cancer causing, which is either 16 or 18. But she said, everybody has come into contact. So if you are sexually active and you can get the vaccine,
Get it.
I feel like I've gone from almost an anti-vaxxer to a vaccine pusher within a couple of years.
Do it.
Right.
Do it.
That's all I'm saying.
Protect your health.
Protect your partner.
Yeah.
Protect your partner, your future partner, because in general, it doesn't affect men very often. It can, but it definitely affects your future partner.
Do what you need to do to
So
be
you
your own advocate.
Do what you need to be so you can continue being a hoe.
Respectfully being a hoe.
I'm just kidding. I say that now as a joke because I had so much shame around having the virus, and like just being like teasingly calling myself a hoe helps me feel better about it.
Yeah. So there you go. Humor helps people.
Humor helps.
Humor helps. I'm sure y'all have picked up on that we use humor from time to time to cope with our pain.
So really the doctor was like, everybody's in contact with it. So just let that sink in. And for some people, HPV just clears your system. You don't even know you had it. It was there and then it's gone and the virus is cleared. For me, it did not clear. For other people, it may not clear. So do your thing. Do your thing, people. Do your thing so you can be a hoe.
No shame to hoes.
Exactly. Hoe in a good way.
Hoe in a good way.
Hoe in a good way.
Be good at being a hoe. If you a hoe, be good at it.
Be a good hoe.
Be good at whatever you do, be good at it. Even if it's hoeing.
Be a safe hoe.
Be a safe hoe and be good. Have fun being a hoe. That's not where I expected us to go today. On that note.
Okay, this is a really hard one. Did you have a favorite episode?
That is really hard because there are so many that I absolutely loved. I can't say that I have a favorite because so many of them have been amazing. And I don't want to make anybody feel bad, but there was one that we did that I was so nervous to ask this person to be on our show because I didn't want her to think that we were being disrespectful in any way or trying to capitalize on her experience in any way.
Oh, wild. Who's that?
But Ava Davis,
Oh,
the Duchess of Grant Park.
Oh, yeah.
But I was just because she's awesome. She's another one of my amazing friends who I farmed for because they're interesting and have great stories and do great work and all this stuff.
Weirdly enough, my dad told me that was one of his favorite episodes.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I was like, why? What was it? And he said, I just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah. And it was so interesting.
Yeah.
And I had wanted to have her on the show for a while and wanted to ask her. I literally didn't want her to think that I was just being like, oh, everybody's talking about trans people. Let's hop on that train. And I didn't want her to think that I was making light or anything or trying to I don't know, like farm her at all. I know I've
But
said that a
Raquel,
couple
you're
of
not
times,
like
but
that.
well, yeah, but I'm always very aware
Okay,
of
like-
that kind of thing.
like-
But it was a great episode, and Ava is awesome.
Yeah.
Like Ava just generally she's just fantastic. She has
Mhm.
great energy. She has a great personality. She's incredibly talented in what she does. She has this belief in herself that just bubbles over. I just adore her. I adore what she does. She's a great actress. I've seen, like, I had seen her in plays and things with mutual friends of ours,
Mhm.
and then I got to know her even more through more of her work and through having that conversation with her. So yeah, so that one stands out for me because I was so nervous to ask her, and she was like, yeah, of course I'll do it, and it turned out to be such a lovely episode.
It was fun.
Yeah,
It was
it
a
was a lot
really
of
good
fun.
conversation. And she's connected to two of our other guests.
Yes,
They're like a friend group.
yes, she is connected to Sarah Hodges
Mhm.
and to Nicole Kemper, and Nicole did our Halloween
Our spooky
episode.
Halloween.
Yes, our women in movies episode. They're all part of a friend group, which there's other friends of mine in that group, and I'll probably be talking to them at some point. Don't worry, people, I'm coming for you.
We're getting to you.
Sarah and Nicole are really close friends
Uh-huh.
and have a couple of podcasts together as well.
Let me think. What was my favorite episode? Oh my God, that's so hard.
Right? It's a really hard question.
There was one that was kind of early on that we haven't really talked about. I don't know if I would say it was my favorite. I felt kind of a deep connection on this one. It was unexpected, and it was with Lala Drona. Do you remember that episode? I wanted to buy a piece of her art so badly after doing that episode. It's a little bit out of my price range right now.
Right now.
In the future, it's going to be in my kitchen. I think I know exactly where it's going to go. I remember when we were talking to her, and I think we quoted something that she had on Instagram, and it was like the fear of being completely seen. And we talked to her about it, and then you answered about it, and then I talked about it and why we all had this. And again, this must be like a universal theme. And that's what I'm learning on this podcast, is that all of these things that we're afraid of, they're very universal. Like we all have these same fears. And she was talking about, if you remember, she had the breast agenesis.
Yes.
The breast agenesis. So one breast grew, the other didn't. And she had this fear of like people knowing that about her and being truly seen and truly loved. And although I don't have that, I've also had that fear about being truly seen and truly loved. And you have expressed something. And as a matter of fact, in a recent podcast, we talked about that same thing. And I don't remember which one it was. I'd have to go back and think, but I was listening to it in the car, and all of a sudden I was saying, it was the fear episode. You said, you don't seem like you have fears. And I said, I have a fear of intimacy, of being truly known. And I said, if I ever was truly myself and put all that work into it, and then someone abandoned me, I even went like this. I said, ugh, it would hurt me. Right. I said that on the podcast. I was listening to that when I was driving the other day. It was about a week ago. And I was like, that is all wrong. Oh, that is all wrong, because that's like doing something special to be yourself and then being rejected. I should just be myself 100% of the time anyway, not to be in a relationship with a man to suddenly show myself to one person. I should show myself every day to everybody. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Just be you. It just occurred to me that I was thinking about that all wrong. That it's just this authenticity, which is another theme we've been running through. To be authentic is to be you every single day, showing up to yourself first. And the shit about the man doesn't even matter. Right. It doesn't even matter. Yeah. To just live your life for you. Yeah. In accordance with who you are. Yeah. So So if you're afraid to bare yourself to this person and the fact that they might reject you, well, if you were bearing yourself every day, they would already know you.
Yeah.
Like, why was I, because I don't know that everyone's doing that, but why was I so protecting the real me? The real me should be out for everyone to know, because the real me is fucking awesome, people.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
I know the real Jennifer, and
Yeah.
she is fucking awesome.
So why was I keeping that in like a glass protected shell to only give to that one person? I should be giving me to everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
It like hit me like a ton of bricks when I was listening to that, and I was like, oh girl, you were all wrong. Or woman, oh woman, you were all wrong. And then I realized,
yeah,
isn't that crazy?
I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
And it's very empowering that you had that
I
realization.
was listening to myself talk
Yeah.
to you while driving, and I was like,
Yeah.
I understand now.
And you know what? I think that's a takeaway that I have about doing the show. First off, Jennifer and I have always been very upfront about the fact that we are not experts. We are not experts.
No, I just like to talk.
We like to talk. We are both very strong personalities, very strong independent women with very strong opinions. Even with those strong opinions, we are not closed to learning about other topics, about other opinions, about examining ourselves and our own opinions.
Yeah.
As you grow, as you learn more, as you age, as your life changes, your opinions quite often change.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the
or you get
core
more
of you,
information.
right? Or you learn more that helps you to stand stronger in that opinion. The point is that you and I are still very open to learning more, hearing other people's opinions, and still examining our own beliefs.
And hearing myself talk and be like, oh, that was not correct. That was not, it's not that it was wrong, but thinking that way wasn't allowing myself to be who I wanted to be. And when I heard myself say that, it was like, wow, that must have been a core belief that was like buried in there that has now come up. I mean, it is powerful to hear yourself speak, to listen to ourselves talking, and the themes that have been running through the issues.
Yeah.
I mean, through our episodes, the themes have been very consistent, very consistent. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
What are some of our themes? I know we've talked about body image a ton of times.
We've talked about body image a lot. We've talked about shame a lot, about basically bring it out into the light, talk about it. It loses its power once you shed light on it. That having conversations brings us closer together. Community. I mean, absolutely community. And I think you probably feel the same way, but with all of you who listen and with our guests that we've had, people that we are still going to reach out to in the future, we feel a sense of community with these people. When I look through my Instagram feed or I look through my Facebook feed, I see these people and I think, this is awesome. I know this person. Yeah, I know this person. This person isn't just this sort of random face that goes through my Instagram.
Raquel and I did a 5K today in Atlanta, in a beautiful neighborhood. And while we were walking through this beautiful community, we talked a lot about the gun violence that's going on in the country. And we talked about the fact that what we both believe is that there is a lack of community. Well, quite frankly, a lot of these shooters are like 18, 19-year-old boys who are being groomed. This is a thing we're not talking about because they're finding community online instead of in their communities. We talked about people we went to high school with. We talked about our experience in high school, how we never had the fear of going to school and being shot. We basically talked about how it's terrorism. That it's terrorism in the United States, that these young people
They're being radicalized.
They're being radicalized. And it's because they're not connecting for whatever reason. I'm not blaming parents. I'm not blaming teachers. Our society as a whole,
It is a societal issue.
people are slipping through the crack holes for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right. For
Yeah.
whatever reason, we don't know what these reasons are. You hear all this stuff about, oh, it's mental illness. It's mental illness. I don't think it's mental illness.
It's not mental illness.
It's
It's not
It's
mental illness.
lack of community. And we talked about that on that episode with Lala Drona.
Yeah.
Because at that time, that shooting had just happened in Michigan.
Mhm.
We talked about that all the way back then, but
Yeah.
we didn't have the words yet. We hadn't even said yet that this is terrorism, that this is, I don't know. We didn't have the words for it. We're just starting to.
Well, I think we're working through this and processing this along with everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yet we need to get rid of the assault rifles. They gotta go. They gotta go. There's no reason.
Right.
But everyone is like, no, it's not the assault rifles. It's mental illness. We need to like get people in programs. It isn't. I don't think it's mental illness.
It's people feeling or actually being isolated for whatever reason. And again, we're not judging. We're just stating these things right now. And then, other people coming in and taking advantage of that isolation and exploiting it, and then radicalizing those young men.
Yes, online through group chats, through messages that come through when they're playing video games with people from all over the country, from chat rooms, from Reddit threads, from, just all, there's just so much information at the fingertips of people, everyone, but especially people, young people whose brains have not completely developed yet. Right. And then at the same time, we want them to hold an assault rifle in their hand.
Right. Right.
Enough of that topic.
Yeah. Good. We're going to delve into that later in future episodes.
Season 2. Are we going to call it season 2 after we get through this, or we just keep going?
I think we're just going to keep going.
We're just going to keep rolling.
I just want to keep going.
We do not take a break, people.
We do not.
We might in the future.
We work hard for you. So I have a question.
Okay.
How has doing the podcast affected you and your life?
Oh my God, that's a big question.
Yeah. Which I know you alluded to it a little bit with, the previous topic of, having that realization.
There are a lot of things, because we have these guests on, and one I can think of particular, soulful journaling. Why do I have
Haley Curtis.
Haley Curtis. Thank you. I always do that. I have been journaling on and off again since she was on the podcast, and I follow her things. She makes me think about, she had one the other day that said, what in your life, what thought do you hold about yourself that brings down your energy? Right. And sometimes I'll hear her, she'll have a post up like that, and I'll jot it down. And then later when I'm journaling, I'll answer that question. I don't do it religiously. I don't do it every single day, but I do journal quite a bit, probably 4 to 5 times a week. So in that regard, and then having other guests that I've done things that they're involved in, because these are things that I probably wouldn't have been exposed to, except we've had the guests. Zoe Martin, her whole book on love and family and autism in the family really made me think about how I interact with my own children, knowing that whether we're on the autism spectrum or not, whether we're ADHD or not, I don't know the answer. We don't have any diagnoses, but how are we relating to our children whose brains might not work exactly the same as ours? So that was very helpful. So every guest that we talk to, it's like bringing a piece of what they've taught us into our lives. Yeah. And the other thing is, I feel like you and I do therapy when we talk together.
Absolutely.
I feel like we each have our therapist, we go to our therapist, but I feel like we get on the podcast and we delve even deeper into whatever we're working on.
Yeah.
So although our audience may not be into it, but maybe they are, because maybe they're doing their own therapy, we're getting a lot of therapeutic validation.
Yeah. A lot of benefit.
Yeah.
A lot of benefit.
A lot of therapeutic validation from talking these things through.
Yeah.
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 And I love that my dad and his girlfriend Sandy listen to the podcast and tell me what they think about it. I love that because I feel like, think about this. How closely do you really know your mother, father, children? My dad and his girlfriend are listening to our words every week.
Yeah.
And they're hearing the thoughts in my head, and they must see me a little bit differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably. You know? Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of wild, but I love that they're listening. It means the world to me.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
How about you? Same question.
I'll start by saying that, kind of on the whole like family connection, my mom is not tech savvy at all. She does know that I'm doing the podcast and the whole thing. Some of my cousins who are older than me, who visit my mom a lot, and they will, and I didn't know they were doing this, but they would show my mom stuff about the podcast.
Aww.
And, like play little blurbs and things from the podcast for my mom. So my mom has like heard some of it and seen it. And just to know that relatives that I don't talk to all the time and I'm not like super close to, but that they're listening to the podcast.
That's what I mean.
And then they're sharing that with my mom is awesome. And just recently I visited my mom and I played her a little bit of one of our episodes, and my mom is my biggest cheerleader anyway, like always has been. I'm very lucky in that regard, in that my mom is so supportive. My mom and my aunt, who was there as well, were listening to some of the stuff that I was playing and talking to them about the episode and reading some of our listener responses. And my mom was just like, I am so proud of you and Jennifer. I mean, yeah, I know my mom's proud of me anyway, but then to hear that is just super, super cool. And for my mom to see me in that light is really cool. To know that relatives that I don't talk to every day are listening is pretty cool.
It's interesting because in all the time that I have tried to write my book, one of the problems I come up against is when I think about writing my truth out, I think about my parents or my children or someone I dated in the past reading it. And in the past, that has kept me from writing it.
Yeah.
And now that we're like kind of like bearing our souls on the podcast, and I've been putting a lot of stuff on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that too. Now I don't feel so nervous about like writing the truth on paper.
Yeah.
I think that has held me back for a long time. I thought about changing names. I thought about, well, how can I tell this story where they won't know it's them? Not that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. And I think that's, in a slightly different way, that's been a huge effect on me doing the podcast, is that I'm getting out of my own way with doing this podcast. I show up, I do the research, I reach out to people, I do, and I'm putting myself out there in a way that a few years ago I wouldn't have done. That has seeped into the rest of my life, and I'm starting to put myself out there in my regular life in ways that I wouldn't have a few years ago.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I have to say, that's due in part to you, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you.
Because honestly, because we've talked about this, that we don't know if either one of us would have done this if we had done it by ourselves.
Oh, I don't think I would have.
In fact, I know I would not have, because when you and I were talking about this before we really just pulled the plug and started doing it, I had thought about either doing a podcast or a blog or whatever, but I always thought nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I mean, I literally did. I would stop myself. I would get in my own way and I wouldn't do things because I thought nobody would care. Who's going to listen, who's going to read, who's going to do whatever. And this podcast has given me a chance to show myself, A, I can do it, and B, that people are listening and people do want to hear what I have to say, and what I have to put out into the world is valid. And so that's been huge.
She's going to make me cry today.
That has been huge for me. So where do you want to go from here?
Where do I want to? Well, I definitely want to keep making the podcast.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. one of our friends from high school
Mhm.
recently made a post on, was it Facebook?
Mhm.
And said that he would maybe like to be on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's got a really interesting story, and he's like I said, we know really interesting people. Yeah. So yeah, he's reached out saying that, first of all, that he listens to the show and that he loves it and that he wants to be a part of it. So we're going to have him on soon.
And I'm just going to say his name. If he went to high school with us, his name is Dominic Travis, and we're hoping he will come on the show.
Oh, he's coming on. He's going to be on the show.
Okay. Okay. So that's something. So there's a couple people we didn't talk about that were on. Melanie Hyatt, who told her story about losing her mother at a very young age to breast cancer. That is probably one of the episodes that people have kind of come out of the woodwork to me and said, hey, I really love that episode about Melanie, because that was like my childhood. And that made me think about, in a lot of ways, I mean, who the guest is really does matter, but in some ways it doesn't matter because everybody has a story to tell. I worked with Melanie for years and did not know Melanie's. I knew a little bit, but I did not know Melanie's story or what she went through. And then so many people have said how that touched them. So I would like to continue helping people tell their stories.
Yes. Yes. That is a huge, huge, huge thing. And that's one of the things that I really treasure about doing the podcast, is that there are so many people who have really interesting stories and who have something to say, but they don't think anybody wants to hear it.
What about Markeisha and Jackie?
Yes.
And
yes.
when you interviewed the three of us about Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
so many people talked about that episode. They
Yeah.
were like, and just for me to be on that episode and talk to the two of them about their mothers and just our laughter around the toilet paper thing. I was going crazy with what my mom was doing with the toilet paper. And then I find out that they have the exact same thing. That was like validating. Having them on the episode led to us talking to Sylvester.
Yeah.
And then Sylvester comes on and talks about just make it home.
Yeah. Just make it home.
Just get home. Just be safe. Just how can you prepare yourself? And I thought the way that he talked in his calm, soothing, but very practical voice, I really respected him in that episode.
Yeah.
So their story kind of ran into his story, which are completely different stories, but everybody's story deserves to be told, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. And I think that's something that I want to put out there for people is I challenge all of you to
come on our podcast
to come on our podcast
and tell us your story.
Tell us your story. Yeah, for sure. Realize that everybody has a story. There is something to everyone. It's so easy for us to just sort of go through life with our blinders on, go to work, come home, go to work, come home, get my job done, go home, eat the dinner, go, and we get so focused on just our own experience, our own little box. But if you step outside or just widen the blinders a little bit and have a conversation with somebody, listen to what somebody else is saying, there's a whole world out there. And there are so many interesting people. Like Jennifer said, today we did this 5K, and then we went to the neighborhood art show, and we're talking to these artists and they have great stories, not just the artists, but like when we went and had dinner, and just the guy who was standing there was telling us about his experience with the restaurant that we went to for dinner. I mean,
well, Raquel talks to everybody, by the way. She's like the most, I thought I was a talker. Raquel is like the most social woman I have ever met. She talks to everybody who walks by.
So in that respect, I am my mother's daughter. For sure. My mom can talk to a tree stump, and apparently I can do the same.
I want to talk a minute about Alyssa Cousins, who was on the show. We had her on, and then you and me and Tiffany took one of her classes.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
And did like the embodiment thing.
Yes. Alyssa was the first guest who made me cry.
She was the first one?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And she called me out. She goes, "Are you crying?" It's like, yeah, I am.
I really liked her class, but I was uncomfortable in it.
Why?
I don't know. My space wasn't super good. So she teaches embodiment,
Mhm.
and maybe I'm not the most embodied person.
I
first
know
of all,
I am
right?
not.
Maybe
I
I'm
am
not.
not.
I think her story is really interesting because she's been going through a lot of changes.
She has. She's
Yeah.
been going through a lot lately.
Yep.
She's embracing isn't the right word. She's not running from it.
No, she's not.
She is fully experiencing what she is going through right
She's,
now.
like living it in her body.
Yeah.
For her audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very brave.
And Alyssa was the first person that I reached out to be on the show that we did not know, that I had been following Alyssa for years. And I had met Alyssa a few years prior at one of her workshops that she had here in Atlanta. And I didn't think Alyssa was going to remember me at all. Like I talked about this in the episode, but I was so freaking nervous to reach out to her. When she said yes, I think literally the top of my head blew off because I was just like, oh, she said yes. Oh my God. I mean, and she's amazing. Her energy is fantastic. And her love and support for and of women is truly empowering.
Yeah. And she has like a network of women that a few of them that I follow now, and we have one of her, how would you even put it? Like a follower or
Like
part
a
of
peer.
like a peer. One of her peers is going to be on the show in a couple of months.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. I love it.
Yep.
I just, like I said, I love how doing this has gotten us connected.
It just like the connection goes and goes and goes.
Like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It just goes, it just keeps going.
What about Jess and D'Angelo?
I love them. They're so cute.
Yeah.
God, they're so cute. And I just loved having them on, and their energy is just.
And that was my first reach out to someone that I didn't know. I followed them, Michigan Date Ideas, because
they're so
I just love
cute.
all the stuff that they did.
They're so stinking cute.
And then when talking to them, I realized a lot of how I've not been super successful in this, but like when you have a relationship, how it is a choice to consciously create it the way that you want to. That's what I learned from them, that they are choosing to date each other within their marriage and with their kid in tow, but they are still like engaged in that process.
Yeah, they continue to choose each other over and over and over again.
How about when we talked to Monica about
about women and alcohol? That's a great episode. And Monica is, I mean, first off, she was so very gracious in being so candid with us and talking about her experience in the industry as a sober woman who does not, well, when I say industry, the food and beverage industry.
I mean, she's a sommelier.
Yeah, she's a somm. And
tasting wine.
Yeah, tasting wine.
Daily.
Yeah.
Sober.
Yeah, swish and spit.
No, what I found really interesting about her, I think that's really interesting to work in the industry and stay sober. But what I thought was even more interesting was since COVID, how she was talking about this new paradigm of leadership. When you're taking care of the people who work for you, setting new expectations with the guests, that the guests, that part of taking care of your team is not allowing the guests to disrespect them. I don't know if that's the right word, but that was my big takeaway from that one for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I just want to talk to more people. Like that time when we had Preston come on at the because we've had this happen a couple times where we've had an episode that we're gonna do, and for whatever reason it falls apart, and then that day we decide what we're gonna do and we throw an episode together and we just go out and do it. And those have been fun and good.
Those have been fun, like the one that we called, what do we call, like flying by the seat of our pants, or the unplanned episode.
The
I think that unplanned episode.
And the unplanned episode is one where, I'm glad you brought that up, is one where I said something that I meant at the moment and I thought might be kind of shocking. And then later I said, I no longer feel that way. Do you remember what that was?
Yeah, when you said that you you wish your mom was dead.
Yeah, I said I'm ready for my mom to die now. Oh my God, with Alzheimer's, I go back and forth on that. I've gone back and forth on that. We have settled into a new routine that's very comfortable. No, I don't want my mom to die right now.
Yeah.
I don't want her to die. Right now, I don't want her to die.
No.
And
No.
I also know that my mom is dying and it's slow. But I mean, we're so used to her now. Like
Yeah.
now, like she's just part of what we do now. So
Yeah.
now I'm on the thing of I don't want her to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. Well, I think it's amazing how you and your daughters and the rest of your family and even your friend circle
Like
have,
Aiden.
yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, how you all have coalesced to make life for your mom as easy as it can be right
Yeah.
now, which also helps you and your daughters.
Yeah.
Because y'all have a support system and you're utilizing it. And that's something that we talked about a lot with Markeisha and Jackie, having support. You don't have to do it all by yourself.
I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I think that is probably Alzheimer's biggest lesson for overachieving control freaks like myself is that I'm just putting it out there. I might have been a control freak.
Yeah. She might still be a little bit of a control freak.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a planner, which Raquel has noticed this weekend. I'm constantly telling people what I'm doing next.
Which I thoroughly appreciate, by the way.
So next I'm going to do this, and that in that order. And that's how I operate. But I think that's one of the lessons of Alzheimer's is that even if you're an amazing human, you can't do it all. You just can't. You need help.
Yeah.
You need help in some sort of way. Oh my God, we talked to so many people.
We did.
Sandra Davis.
Sandra, God, geez, y'all, I love Sandra Davis. Just her voice, like we talked about with Sylvester, with his voice just being, soothing.
Sandra made you cry too.
Sandra made me cry too, God knows. But her voice is so soothing and amazing and calming, and listening to her.
What did she say to you that made you cry? She said, "It's gonna be okay."
Yeah. Yes. For me, and this is kind of a through line for me.
Yeah.
Is somebody saying to me, it's going to be okay. That's huge for me because I spend so much of my life worrying about something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm trying to get better about it, people. I am, but it's a process. And especially if I'm in a stressful period in my life, for somebody to go, it's okay. And to hear it in that soothing, honey-coated, full of love tone that Sandra has, it was like somebody just gave me a hug and they're like, it's gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started crying because it was like, it is gonna be okay.
It was like a release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To hear her, we talked to her about money. Again, going to her and the work that she's done.
Yeah.
She takes the shame out of it. And again, it's a
Through line
for the show.
Yeah.
Shame keeps us all small and it keeps us hidden and it keeps stuff in the dark and it keeps us from, in many situations, from finding the resolution or the relief or the help or whatever it is that we need. It keeps us from those things. It keeps us isolated.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Isolation.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other two, the episode right before that, we did Black women entrepreneurs. We had Jess and Nikita on.
Yes. Yes.
And that's an episode. That episode, we had a lot of technical difficulties. You probably heard that. But that episode brought up a whole nother topic that we hope to have them back on. That's another story that we want to talk about, colorism.
Yeah.
That came up big on that episode.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we'll schedule moving forward for sure.
Yeah. And like I said, like all of the conversations that we've had have led us to either more realizations or deeper conversations, or, oh, we want to explore this topic more on another episode. So when we say, we're going to have to visit that on another episode, we take that into consideration, and we do mean it. We're not just sort of like shoving something off to the side.
And I think Liz McCall's episode on ADHD, so many people have talked about that.
So many.
But that also kind of interrelates with Kimber Bishop's, what was her last name?
Yankee.
Kimber Bishop Yankee's episode about bullying. Those things are interrelated. And then we're going to be having the episodes about gun violence. And we talked about, does bullying lead to gun violence? We talked about, is bullying partly because of ADHD? Like all of these things are somewhat.
It's all related. We are doing with this show what we set out to do in the beginning.
What did we set out to do?
To have the conversations that people are afraid to have.
Yes.
And to hopefully lead other people to have the conversations in their own lives, or to at least think about them in a slightly different way.
Oh, and one thing I did learn, remember when we had Ryan Ray Harbuck on, and she wrote that book,
When I Grew Up, I Want to Be a Chair.
Yeah. And at the end, after we ended with her, and I said, Raquel, what's your chair? And you said, Jennifer, what's your chair? And I don't remember what we said, but one of the things that we learned that our audience likes is for us to end the episode and then have a little recap with the two of us.
Yes.
And I think that was one powerful episode with that, because we started that whole episode with what's your chair? And then we ended the episode and we didn't even know we were going to do this.
Right. Yeah.
Where we just asked each other, what's your chair? And then we talked about it.
Yeah.
That was a cool episode.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. God, I love doing the show.
And then Carly Heath and the Reckless Kind.
Yeah, that was a really awesome interview. I mean, talking to Carly was really, really cool. And hearing her talk about the book and what went into it for her, like all of the things that she was thinking about, and all of the things that all of the topics that she pulled from to write the book, that was really cool.
I really enjoyed that book, and I didn't think I was gonna when I started. Just because it was young adult.
Right.
Like no other reason.
Right.
I didn't think I would get into it, but I liked that book a
right.
lot.
And I remember telling her that there were scenes in the book that were very cinematic for me.
Yes.
I literally could see them on a big screen. The way that she writes and the way that she describes things, it's so visual that, at least for me, like I couldn't help but picture it. So I think she has an amazing talent as far as that goes.
Yeah.
So we were really fortunate to talk to her.
And twice this year, we pushed all of our episodes out of the way to bring 2 episodes quickly to the forefront. One was our Roe versus Wade episode, and the other one was about refugees, asylum seekers, and migrant workers.
Yeah.
And we did that because we felt really strongly about these issues getting out right away.
Yeah. Which isn't to say that we didn't care strongly about other things. We're not saying that we weren't deeply affected by other things that have happened, because God knows
a lot of things have happened.
A lot of things have happened
that
have deeply affected both Jennifer and myself, as well as many of y'all. In those 2 instances, we're like, drop everything.
Yeah.
This is what we need to do.
And we would have done the same thing if we had already recorded the gun violence episodes. Those would be out. We haven't recorded them yet.
Yeah,
they're coming.
But they're on the calendar, and they will be coming very soon.
We had to go out and find those guests to bring you experts.
Yeah, and because there's certain things that we are affected by and that bring up a lot of emotion for us, that we want to be responsible in introducing the topic and having experts with us to talk about these things. It would be doing a disservice to all of you as well as for ourselves if we just sort of like just flew by the seat of our pants on certain topics. We need to have an expert to help us delve into the nuances and the intricacies of certain
with
issues.
the gun violence issue, I don't understand why nothing has been done.
Yeah.
Like, right, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so to have someone come on and talk about what they're working on, what they've tried to do, what legislation's trying to be passed, why it's not being passed, someone who understands that, because I don't get it, frankly. I'm like, what the,
Yeah,
I don't get it. So that was the long way of answering your question about what I think's coming up. I think it's more stories. I could have just said more stories, but I wanted to go through all the stories.
Yeah. It's more stories and more amazing people.
More of the same, a little bit of different, some really cool guests. I'd love to have some men on the podcast.
More growth on our parts, definitely.
More growth on our parts.
Yeah. In every way. Like we've just the podcast itself, just like the technical aspects, I think we've grown a lot. So for those of you who have been with us from the very beginning, although we're very, very proud of our first episodes, but we have learned a lot technically since that time.
We've had 3 Jesses on the show.
Yes. Yes.
We've had
Jessica Norwood.
Yep.
Jess from Michigan Date Ideas. I can't remember her last name right off the top of my head. And oh God, who else?
Jess from
Jess from
Loud Social.
Yes.
Yeah. And oh my God, you want to talk about transformation this year? When she was on the show, our main focus was kind of body positivity, along with LGBTQ issues, along with cannabis. We talked a lot about cannabis and the laws, etc. And Jess was just beginning to like embrace her body and show it publicly. And how much she has done. I like follow her every day now. Like
one of her most recent posts on Instagram. I mean, the picture of her is beautiful.
I know. That's what I'm saying. She is showing her true self. She's not trying to hide the bumps and curves, and she's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
She is to us all.
She is a beautiful and powerful human being.
Yeah.
God bless her.
So 3 Jesses.
I love it. And I'm sure there'll be more.
More Jesses?
More Jesses.
If your name is Jess, tell us your story.
Yeah, there you go.
And Oprah and Brene.
Yes.
You're still
on our list. We want you to be on the show. And
I'm Team Oprah.
Yeah, well, yes, I'm Team Brene. Yes, I am. I said it. I'll say it again.
Yeah.
Oh, and Glennon Doyle, Abby Wambach, Amanda, sister.
Yeah.
Please be on our show.
Yeah, well,
please be on our show. More than likely, I will DM one or all of you. Please be kind.
You're gonna do it.
I am. I'm gonna do it. So, ladies, please be kind. Please come on our show. We love you.
I have started following a lot of other feminist podcasts and started like the chat line with them. And a lot of, believe it or not, there are a lot of like 2 women podcast shows out there. And I thought, how cool would it be for either us to be on theirs or there to be on us?
Yes.
And so
I'm both.
So I'm kind of working on that as well.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm listening to the shows and I'm loving them.
Yeah.
And you know, they do chat a lot like we do, but they know different stuff than we do.
Of course.
Yeah. So it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Love it. Stay tuned, people. We've got all kinds of great stuff coming up.
Oh, we didn't talk about women's success and ambition, Estia.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So they've been asking on their site, they've been really reaching out to women and saying, what do you want to learn about?
Yes.
Yeah. Maria Jacobson.
Yes. Maria was awesome too. Like, I'm sorry. I know I've said this about literally every guest.
Yeah.
But it's true. We have been incredibly fortunate to speak with and work with some really fantastic people. Strong like
Haley Shapley.
Haley Shapley. That book.
I said that wrong.
So good.
Sorry, Haley.
They're so good. So yeah. So y'all read that book. It is so empowering. And you said that book made you start thinking about.
I still haven't started lifting weights, but yes,
Yeah.
I just think it's really important.
It is. Yeah.
Strength versus skinny.
My mom was sick just a few weeks ago and she fell. You guys might know this. My mom's 83 and she fell, and she's fine. She's doing really well. She's great. She's getting her strength back. But just the fact that she fell and she couldn't get herself up off the floor was so frightening for me in literally every way imaginable.
Yeah,
but the one way that it scared me that I didn't expect was, oh my God, I don't want to get to what insert age here and not be able to get myself up off the floor. And so that, along with Haley's book, really has put it into my head that strength is important. Regardless of size, people, strength is important. The function of your body is what is important. Being able to literally propel yourself of your own volition is so important.
That's what Maria Jacobson Holmes talked about in a way that she didn't really talk about body image and body size and all of that. But what she did say is take up space. And that we have heard, don't play small,
right?
Take up space. We have heard that again and again and again from guests as well, which is so different than what we've all been raised on. This like make yourself smaller, make yourself smaller, make yourself smaller.
Yeah,
and
dim your light. Don't be loud. Don't be boisterous.
Yeah. How could you and I live if we couldn't be loud?
Oh God, I don't even know.
No,
I don't even know. And it's funny. And I just have to give a shout out to a friend of mine. I don't even know if she listens, but a friend of mine, this woman, Claire, who is, I mean, she's amazing. I became friends with her when she was my boss many, many, many years ago. She's this teeny little thing, but she has this big, amazing, boisterous, full laugh. And like, you hear that laugh and you're like, there's emotion there.
Yeah.
That is awesome. She is feeling that joy from like the tips of her toes, right? I have, so much of my life has been people telling me I'm too loud or shushing me or telling me to hush or, oh my God, calm down. But to hear her laugh, and I've told her this, so I'm not, telling anything out of school, but I told her that hearing her laugh that way and to just embody her entire laugh gave me the permission sort of to laugh loudly and to laugh fully and to not cover my mouth when I laughed and to just be me in all of my loudness. I hope that we are doing some of that with our show, giving this platform.
What's her name?
Her name is Claire.
Right on, Claire.
Yeah. And she knows who she is. Hopefully she listens. She, because I've told this to her. Hopefully by us providing a platform and putting a spotlight on all of these amazing people who have these amazing stories, hopefully we have done some of that for other people.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Raquel,
yes.
Can we eat our cake?
Yes, y'all, we have cake. We're celebrating.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Clink our cake plate.
Yeah, there we go.
Raquel is having.
I'm having carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. It's delicious.
Notice the way I made her talk so I could eat. I'm having, what do you call this?
Confetti cake.
I've been waiting for this all day. She would not let me eat it.
I know. I'm so mean. I'm a taskmaster.
If you have a story to tell, not you.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you too.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we have told we did the HPV and the suicide episode, and we told our stories.
We have been very open.
We told our most shameful stories.
We have.
We told our most shameful stories.
Yeah. So y'all can do that too.
Do you feel shame around it anymore?
No.
Not at all. Not one bit. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, baby.
Be a hoe. I love your laugh. I love your laugh.
Thank you.
Tell us your stories.
Bye, y'all. Thanks, everyone, for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.